ऊपर आ जाएगा वी आर लाइव या वी आर लाइव
Yeah, Arya.
Have I come to this planet to pay bills? Leaders are not born, they are made.
So I want to meet you for half an hour. How much will you charge? Everyone will be buying and selling time.
विश्व में केवल 10% ऐसे लोग हैं जो गोल सेट करते हैं.
The manager converted into a leader and you said, we all know, let's do it.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It's such a pleasure to be here back with you after a long gap. Remember that we will be here now onwards every alternate Wednesday at 5 p.m. And I bring with you one expert who brings in their expertise and we integrate that with my subject of leadership. So that's the way we go about it. Today, we are very fortunate to have a very good friend and an expert. And the more I know of him, the more expertise I see of him. We welcome today Mr. Jhankar Gadkari. He's the founder and managing consultant of AU Consulting, which is AEIOU. And if you guessed it right, these are the 5 vowels. That's the way his company is formulated. He specializes in developing human capital through the EQ framework. So, absolutely an expert in emotional intelligence, emotional quotient, and he conducts workshops in corporates around the subject of emotional quotient profiling, emotion quotient as such, and also does workshops on cross cultural competencies. He's certified EQ coach and profiler. He is an ACS, a degree in law, which is public and private international law, master's in law, air and outer space laws, degree in commerce, diploma in financial management. Jankar is also an expert uh, external panelist on SN Vilankar Management School and ITM Management School, Mumbai. He has interest in the world culture and history. He is an oft invited speaker in various forums and on series of subjects like productivity enhancement, leadership, soft skills, and many more. Jhankar is a very um, renowned Rotarian. He has been in Rotary for many years and he has contributed a lot to Rotary International. Welcome, Jhankar, to today's discussion.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Brigadier Saab. Thanks a lot. Nice being here. Nice to be a part of this tete-a-tete with you. And as you said, the more you get to know about me, the more impressed that you get. Same here. The more I get to know more about you, the more impressed that I get. So
Thank you very much.
we have a mutual
So,
admiration society. Yes.
yes, thank you so much. So, Jhankar, today we are going to be talking about, and I'm talking to the viewers, that we are going to be talking about a very important subject which is part of leadership, and that is resilience. Resilience is something without which a leader is incomplete. And to begin today's discussion, and the subject, as you see scrolling down, is Resilience Unleashed, a Leadership Imperative. Let me start by asking a very basic question to Jhankar. What is resilience? How would you define what does resilience really mean?
Uh, it's a pleasure talking to you, Brigadier Saab, coming from the fraternity where resilience is a part and parcel, being a very senior soldier in the army for last 34 years. So I don't think I would be really giving much to you as such, but then this is all for the audience and the reason that we are here to share our expertise and our information about what we feel about resilience. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, the the topic itself speaks for itself in the sense unleashing resilience. So, when you say unleashing resilience, Brigadier Saab, it means it is somewhere with us and we need to just unbound it. It is somewhere with everybody. We
Yeah,
need to just unbound it. We need to unleash it. And that is a leadership imperative. And why do I say it is a leadership imperative? Because let me give you a small little quote. I survived because the fire inside me burnt more brighter than the fire outside. So we are basically talking, my friends, something to do with inside, something internal. And when we talk about leadership, leadership has got nothing to do with wearing a big cap or sitting on a high chair or having to have 10, 15 people under you or maybe more for all you know. Leadership, please take it home for the last time. Leadership is an attitude. Leadership is your outlook. Leadership, as I would please reiterate, has to do everything how you look at the thing and the clarity of thoughts that you have. And the most important part, that every leader is tested. He is tested during the times of crisis. Leadership during the normal times are very normal. It's nothing unusual for somebody to lead a organization or a country or a battalion for all you know in normal times. What is the test of time and what is tested about the leadership is during the time when you are at a crossroad of a situation which is completely changing your life. And that is where the resilience comes into picture. At all times, ladies and gentlemen, we are threatened by uncertainty. Life is uncertain as such. And taking this bull of uncertainty by its horn is the effective leadership. And let me just define, as since Colonel Saab, Brigadier Saab has asked me, what is a resilience per se? It is nothing else but the process of adapting well in the face of adversity, trauma, tragedy, and threats. It is nothing else but once you fall, and if you fall in your race, it is an ability, it is a prowess within you, it is something which tells you get up and run because there is hope. Get up and hope, run because there is optimism that is set aside you. Don't be a pessimist and give it up. If you feel that running any organization, business, or a country, or even your family, for all you know, is a cakewalk, no. There are ups and downs. There are huge amount of pitfalls that you may come across, changes which gives you stress, and it is that mindset. It is that mindset that defines a leader when he takes it by its horn, and
beautiful.
he
I just love this, your term of bull by the horn. This really
absolutely.
explains it. And this really explains it. And I also want to say that when you say it is in you and you want to unleash it, right from our childhood, when a child falls down, the child is encouraged to get up and start walking again. Have we ever seen any time any parent saying, keep lying down there? No. The very fact that the moment we get down, we are taught right from the beginning, it's a part of our life that when you fall, you get up and walk again.
Exactly.
And
And
this is where the unleashing really
comes
happens,
into picture.
and it's a
Yes.
part of it. It's a we so whenever we see examples of resilience, we find people doing great achievements. You'll find that there was something in them which was lying dormant, and at that spur of the moment, it came out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, I have hundreds of cases of stories of bravery when
Absolutely.
people ask them, "How
Yes.
did you do it?
Yes.
How did you do
Yes.
it at that particular
Yes.
time?" That particular thought. So I mean, just came to my mind. I have a friend who became the first couple to ever have a skydive. So
Okay.
sorry, para dropped.
Okay.
So when they did para jumping, I asked this girl who was just about 22 or 23 that time. I said, Nishi, what made you jump?
Hmm.
She said, I don't know, but it was at that point of thought, at that point of my time, that my husband wanted me to do it, and I was newly married, and I had to do it for him. And then there was a somewhere a desire to say that when I jump, I'll become a part of the first couple who had done para jumping. That
Absolutely.
moment, I think it's a moment. And she says, if you think I can do it again, I don't know whether I'll do it again or not. So
I
resilience is when you're faced with
No,
a
you
challenge.
absolutely right. And when you gave us that example about a child falling down and you not telling him anything, but the child getting up on its own, it is nothing else but a quality of being resilient. That's one. But let me just take you down a little bit to all the people who are listening to me today. Uh, when you are born, you're gifted with two innate qualities. You have got some a level of intellect, as a child, some level of intellect, and there is some level of emotions also. These are two gifts that you bring to this world which are inborn.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately or incidentally, our entire focus is on developing the intellect, and that is where the rat race starts. And we bound ourselves only in academics. Never in our life we talk or even think about the fact that there is another element which gets neglected, and that is the emotions.
Absolutely. I think
And
you're so
all
right.
and all our life, Brigadier Saab, we are only prodding that child to be successful. उसके दिमाग में उसके जहन में एक ही आता है और एक ही बैठा रहता है कि he has to be successful at all times. So it
Exactly.
becomes a part of his nature. He's so hardwired with achieving success that he forgets the fact that there is a possibility of failure as well. There is an adversity which is waiting for him to take care of. There is a pitfall that he has to overcome. And
Exactly. Hmm.
when he actually comes across that, then he doesn't know what to do.
You said
And
it
that
so
is
rightly.
yes. And
When I have been into my trainings and all, I've always been saying this one thing, that I realized in my life that when I came to the planet, God didn't tell me that all that you're going to do is going to be doing right things and you're always going to succeed and you must always succeed. I found that there was absolutely a requirement of being able to not only take failures but learn from them. And that is there in my
absolutely.
book, Design Your Life Failures as a Tool
Yes,
for
so
Learning.
right. So
For
right.
learning.
So
So
right.
now, when we are talking about this, we are also using this term very often called bounce back. You know that you bounce back when
Yes, you
you are
bounce back.
you
Absolutely. Yeah.
uh, get
That is
into
a
a
quality.
you get into some type of a challenge, an adversity, a threat, a
Hmm.
danger, or an uncertain situation like COVID happened, for example, and people
Absolutely.
said we must bounce back. And I've had a mentor called Sam Cawthon who has this term called bounce forward. And now I find
Uh-huh.
there's another lady called Joni from South Africa who's actually copyrighted this bounce forward.
Hmm.
And what I understood, and I started talking a lot about it during my COVID days, was that if I was doing a workshop online in May 2020, I
Hmm.
used to tell people that if you say about you're going to bounce back, you're going to go bounce back means you are preparing yourself for February 2020. But what you're doing is you're saying that, as you know, also, Jhankar, you'll agree with me that history says that any time there was any crisis, from the world wars to the recession of 2008 to any crisis you take, we always emerged we emerged stronger
Successful.
and more successful after the crisis than we were when we went into it. The best innovations in our history took place during this First World War, because you had to survive, so innovations were happening. And
Absolutely.
I personally noticed a lot of innovations happening during COVID as well.
Yes.
So when I used to say, and this is what I want to also bring to our audience today, is that when you look at the future and say, I'm going to take a leap forward to
Hmm.
bounce forward and meet the requirement, which is when I come out of the crisis, not when I bounce back to when I entered the crisis. So, what do you say to this when you're talking of resilience?
Uh, yes, I wanted to just also extend your conversation by saying that we also have these abilities of adaptability. You know, you're naturally adaptable. Had we not been naturally adaptable, we would have not survived the entire circuit of evolution. And we have adapted, and here we are. As you said, we had a huge uncertain crisis, and that's what we call it as a black swan effect or a black swan event of COVID, and yet we bounced back. We resolved, we innovated, we accepted certain things, and today we are in a completely different world, which we have been calling it as a new normal. I think it is normalized as the fact that we are speaking to each other on this platform itself is an innovation during the COVID times. It was not as prevalent as it used to be. So let me tell you, the ability to bounce back from a negative emotional experience by adaptation to the changing demands of stressful experience is nothing else but emotional resilience. When somebody experiences failure, it is the first thing that he gets affected are his emotions. For you to be leader, Brigadier Saab, you don't need to be physically huge or strong or something like that. You need to have the mental toughness. A soldier needs to be mentally tough to handle the situation. And that's what I guess, I'm sure, is being told first to every other person who goes through this training in the army. And that is
Absolutely.
also equally true, as I see it, for any leadership to be mentally tough to handle the crisis, to be mentally tough to look at the adversity, look at it in the face of it, and bounce back into the situation. And for which, what do you need? What do you need? We need a few things which we call it as a self-talk. We need for few things which we call it as a optimism. These are a few competencies that we need to develop. And these are the competencies which come out of the emotional intelligence and emotional quotient part of it. And when we talk about it, I can give you series and series of examples where people really come from adverse backgrounds, but they have done something so extraordinarily great that you'll be surprised to know that. So, as you had said earlier also, that we all are resilient. We have that quality amongst us, within us. But what is lacking is the awareness about it. What is lacking in us is just strengthening that awareness, and the degree and the circumstances of the situation will differ. But the resilient that you are, that doesn't stop you from matching that or handling that head on.
Very rightly said. So, I would like you to share if you can, tell us something about a personal or professional experience of your life that highlights the impact of resilience in a leadership role.
As I said, Sushil, I don't look at leadership always in a typical format that it is. Leadership, as I say, is an attitude. It is an outlook. And you also mentioned that I have been a part of Rotary, and I am still a part of Rotary for 30 odd years now. And I have been fortunate to be connected to many people who have done extraordinary things, and actually speaking, seek those people only to understand what made them do certain things. Let me give you an example of somebody called Chandro Tomar. This lady is 85-year-old. You must have seen there was a biopic which came out. The name of the movie was Sand Ki Aag. And I went to see her in her village called Johori village, which is in Bagpat. This lady, when she was almost about 70, 75, coming from a very, very basic background, uh, very marginalized background with a lot of ethos where women are not allowed to do many other things that normally people in the urban areas would do. Yet she took to shooting, a very unconventional sports, though she was taunted, etc. And when I spoke to her, she could barely speak to me in the. There was no common language between me and her, but there were enough amount of people who could give me the kind of interpreted version of what she was trying to tell me. All I found in her was that when she was challenged by the society, she kept on talking to herself. She kept on looking at the brighter side of what was coming her way. She had a very open mindset and she had that ikigai that we call it in Japan, that purpose in life. She had taken this as a mission and as a purpose in life. This is one example which I thought that a person who was absolutely illiterate, she had no such fundamentals that we are talking about, no such concepts that we are talking about, no such literary background, no such educational background that we're talking about, but naturally she was evolving emotional resilience. She was
So I love
absolutely
that
down.
example because this is not related to a corporate leader, and that's what you said. It's
Yeah,
everyone. It's
it is with everyone.
leadership is not about just the post or just the title that
Absolutely
you
well
have.
said. Absolutely. It's an attitude. And here is another example I would like to give you about Lakshmi Agarwal. Comes from Delhi, stays in Patpad Nagar. She was an acid attack. She was a victim of an acid attack. And there is another movie called Chapak, which has come out. Why am I giving you these simple examples, my friends? Is because if I give you examples of some bombastic leaders, it is very natural for them to be resilient because they have got some background, they have known about these concepts, they are trained into doing all these things. These people have none. Yet they have shown this extraordinary courage of being resilient towards the situation, bounced back, and done wonders. This girl has started something which you will be surprised to know that she is tending the acid attacks here in Delhi itself. She was considered to be the International Woman of Courage by none other than Mr. Obama's wife, Michelle Obama. And look at the way she has went from one to the other. She could have just been one of those persons who could have been sitting in one corner and uh, crying over her misery. But no, she didn't. Another example I could give you is a Subhasini Mistri. Because all these people, let me tell you, Sushil, I have interviewed these people, I have met these people. Subhasini Mistri was a vegetable vendor in Kolkata. Not in Kolkata, to be very precise, in Sundarbans. She lost her husband on the footsteps of the hospital just because there was no money, paucity of money. She went home with a resolve. And she said, one day I am going to make a hospital of my own. People laughed at her. A vegetable vendor, illiterate, absolutely no background, no social support, nothing of that kind. Yet, Suhasini Mistry today, only because of her resolve, only because of her resilient nature, only because of the grit and the determination that she has shown, all these come into picture as one. Today, she has been able to make two hospitals known as Humanity Hospital. Her son, Dr. Ajay Mistry, is a good friend of mine today. Suhasini Mistry is still as illiterate as she was and as she is even today. Ajay Mistry is the one who is a doctor today. Her son manages this. I can give you so many such
Yeah.
examples,
So I
one after the
think that is very good. We already had three examples. Let's go further to the
yes.
next question. And what I would like to know from you is what are the key components of a resilient mindset of a
Uh, Brigadier Sahab, you will agree that you need to be first and foremost having an open mind. You need to have an open mind. You should be open to ideas. You should be open to the idea that that there is something which has gone wrong. What do we do about it? So you need that adaptability and the acceptance of a situation to begin with. You need to be mindful. When I say mindful, I say to it with a kind of creating the right kind of a perspective, which involves factfulness. Otherwise, we might tend to get into factoid. Let me tell you what a factoid is. A factoid is nothing else but a fact which is delivered again and again to the public to an extent that people start accepting that it is a fact. A prime example of a factoid is the Great Wall of China, which up until now, as a student in school, and I'm sure you must have also heard, is the only man made object which can be seen from the space. Incidentally, it was a Chinese astronaut who said, no, it is not the same one. So it was a factoid. So, anyway, you need to be mindful. And when I say mindful, you don't have to be indulging and involving yourself in any kind of a meditative practices. Mindfulness is nothing else but to be in the present moment of now. And in a very simple form, I don't want to get there now because it's paucity of time. You need to have optimism. You need to have that positivity that is the only thing which will bail you out of the situation. You need to have a self-talk, a positive self-talk. And without any exception, we need to create a purpose in life. The Japanese way that is creating purpose in life is ikigai. We all know about it. And the French belief is raison d'être. That is the reason to be. The ability to learn resilience is an ordinary, sir. It is nothing extraordinary. All we need to do is adapt all these things consciously, purposefully, and intentionally. कोई भी चीज अगर हम कहते हैं ना साहब के फोकस करो, it's very easy to say focus karo. Up until the time that you don't put intention into that, focus will never happen. Up until the time that you become positive intentionally, you will tend to be negative because negativity is natural. The first thing that comes to your mind is a worry, more than no worry. And that is when we talk about optimism needs to be developed, positivity needs to be made, because certain things which are negative, pessimism, comes to you very naturally because of the uncertainty. Our brain is wired that we do not know what is on the other side of the corner. And that uncertainty itself is a fear factor. At all times, we are living in that fear factor. So, just to reiterate that, you need to be open minded, you need to be mindful, positive, optimist, self talk, create a purpose in the form of various ways, create a statement of purpose for yourself, or go the Japanese way, ikigai. You can go a little more deeper into that to understand that, and raison d'être, which is the reason to be that I am. This is what I would say. But yes, when we are doing all these things, you need to develop that. And as you said, unleashing that, yes, it is somewhere there and you need to unleash that. But when you unleash that, that unleashing part of it itself means develop it and then set forth this entire quality of resilience with purpose, with intentionality, and with consciousness.
Very good. I think that really, it's a very, very concentrated capsule that you have given. It's absolutely like you have got the juice out of it. And I think if that is just understood by leaders, that would be absolutely great. Now, when we talk about the long term impacts for leadership success, how does
Yeah.
resilience come in? How does that contribute
Oh,
to the long term success?
it contributes, it builds character, sir. It increases your tenacity. As a leader, you need to be a person with a great amount of tenacity. You need to take a lot of pressure on you. There's only one person at the top, and there are no friends, as they say. Emotionally, you become very strong. You accept adversity as a part of your life's journey. Because life is as you accept life the way it is with pitfalls. You're not talking only about success. Lucky are those who can be successful all their lives and come out as winners. But yes, when you have this character, a strong character, emotionally strong bend of mind, you definitely are going to come out as a winner. Definitely. So this is my small little two pence on how should a leader adapt all these things in the long term. One more thing which I would like to give you is an ABC of resilience, which is simple for you to understand. ABC of resilience and emotional quotient and resilience quotient or emotional resilience. A would stand for adversity. This is during the challenging situation. You tell yourself, yes, I am in that state. Emotional intelligence, first and foremost, tells you to recognize and understand your own emotions, which state you are in. Only then would you be able to handle a situation far better. Least you get into a situation which is not desirable. So A stands for adversity, which is a challenging situation. What is the solution? I need to be optimistic. I need to be motivated. Second part, B. B is nothing else but my belief, the right interpretation of the situation. Many a time we tend to go into a little different part of the story, detrimental part of the story, negative part of the story, pessimistic part of the story, and come out with perceptions which are actually not true. Try and be as factful as you can. Try and be as verified as you can. And the C stands for the consequence. Understand if you do not act upon a situation today or now, what would be the consequences? Understand if you do not act upon this adverse situation now, what would be the consequences? Are they worthy of it? Then what do you do? Of course, when you are confronted with some kind of a trauma, stress, as you may put it, or a situation which you can call it as a change, because change is stress itself, change is trauma itself. You tend to be in that emotional state of mind. So we need to navigate the emotions. Just to give you an example, you could be in a rage, just a very simple example, nothing to do with a given situation. You could be in a rage because of a situation, somebody has really ticked you off very badly. If you are emotionally intelligent and a savvy person and practicing that, there and then, before the amygdala hijacks you, you should be able to pinpoint what is the emotional state that you are in. There's a very high possibility that a person in rage might do something so adverse that he would regret over a period of time. The moment he understands and recognizes and identifies his emotional state, that it is in rage, he tries to bring it down the degree and it becomes an irritation. Allow some pause. Allow your hormones to take care of yourself. Allow the chemicals to manage yourself. And believe me, within a few seconds, if you realize which state you are in, you would be coming down a little bit, a degree, that is navigating from rage to irritation. You, of course, can't fall in love if you are in rage. You can be a part and a parcel or a shade of anger, and that is irritation. Irritation you can manage far better by innovating it. Or maybe there are ways and means of doing it by going further to resolving it. So, applying the consequences or the ABC of it every now and then, that is a far better and easier way to understand. First and foremost, understand and be clear about adversity. Be optimist, be motivated during that period in time. Look at your belief system by having the right interpretation. Get into the factfulness. See is the consequences. What do you do during this situation? Navigate your situation, navigate your emotions, and apply consequential thinking, which is yet another competency of emotional intelligence. So emotions have got a lot of play in every factor of your life. They are drivers, they are energizers. They drive you to perform. Don't underestimate your emotions, which is a part and parcel of your package that you're born with. Today, emotional intelligence has taken a great seat in the world of leadership. The whole world looks at being emotionally intelligent savvy. EQ and EI has taken a forefront. Not that I am trying to undermine or dismiss IQ. IQ has its own place. But street smartness, people skills, getting to know the right and the wrong, not in the confined cabin of your leadership, but on the street, is the most important part of it. You must be aware of the fact something called sledging. If you think that the batsman who is batting in the midfield and the people behind him, whether it's the wicketkeeper or the slips, are not saying anything to him, all kind of things happen on the ground, and that is where he needs to keep his emotional state of mind
Yeah.
perfectly right. That sledging is extremely important. We've seen $1 million being lost out in the FIFA World Cup by the headbutting that happened. So this is a training that is given today. The great amount of money is invested on emotional intelligence for players, for professionals. That's all I can tell you at the moment. We can go on and on, Brigadier Saab,
Yeah.
but you may
So,
have something else to ask
yeah.
me.
Thank you very much. And before we go further, I just want to have a word with the audience, the viewers. So I see some of you are there. I can see many people around, but I don't see any comments coming from anyone, which doesn't let us know whether you are there or not. So I'll be very happy if nothing else, at least say a hello to us so that we know you are there, number one. And number two, we have already covered a lot of space on emotional intelligence and how it plays an important role in the art of leadership. Would you have any questions or suggestions? You agree with something, you don't agree with something? Let's make it a little more interactive because we never like our conversations here to be one sided monologues. So let me have some comments coming up, which I can also share with others on the screen itself. Sorry, why is it not? Oh. Okay, so before any, because I haven't seen any questions coming up, we'll
Yeah,
continue with our conversation. And I would also like to tell you that I faced a lot of these things in the army.
yeah,
I found that in my part of my experience, resilience was taught to us right from the beginning,
yes, yes,
uh, from IMA or NDA itself. So the
yes,
training was full of teaching how to be resilient. And what we understood right from the beginning of my training, my career was that there is nothing which is certain. When we wake up in the morning, we don't know what the day is going to be like. And
true,
therefore, you have to always be prepared for any uncertainty. So, carrying
true.
on further, yeah. So, you're sorry, you were saying something.
No, no, no. Carry on. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So, I would also now like to ask you uh, what role does EI and EQ play in a leader's resilience?
oh, very much. Uh, EI and EQ, if you go through the entire subject of these concepts today, uh, makes you see the situation more clearly with the right kind of perspective. So you don't jump to conclusions. You are not reactive. You're more responsive. That's the first thing. You will also understand that emotions are drivers, motivators, and they're energizers. So you know how to utilize somebody else's emotions and also using your own emotions. Okay, it also allows you to come out of a given situation, which is typically known as a psyche of a pessimist. A psyche of a pessimist is nothing else but learned helplessness. Let me give you the sequence of it. I feel helpless because of the new situation that I am in. I don't do anything about it. And I feel guilty by the end of the day. And this cycle keeps going on and on and on. You feel helpless. You don't do anything about it because you're doubtful about the fact that whether you can ever perform or not. And that is where emotions come into the picture, and we need to leverage them and ride them. And that is why I say emotions drive people and people drive performance. And emotional resilience is the most important part of a leadership. Again, I'm reiterating that is because the toughness of mind is more important than the toughness of or physical toughness. And I'm sure Brigadier Saab will agree on that. You would have probably seen many people with uh, basic physical traits performing some unusual acts, and then you may go home and ask, how did he do that? How did that happen? So this is all that EI teaches you. In fact, EI and EQ has taken a front seat today, not because of anything else, but because the relationships matter. At some point in time, the relationship aspect between employees and employers or bosses and their subordinates was not given much of its scope. As we have evolved, the new generation that we're talking about, the millennials and Gen Zs, etc., are with a different set of mind. And that is where EI and EQ has come and has taken a great place in the society and also in the corporate world. As we have gone from one to the other, we have realized that people with less or no IQ, so called, have created unbound energies and have been movers and shakers in this world. Take examples of so many corporate worlds and take examples of so many leaders in the world, you will realize that IQ has played a least amount of role in EQ. I mean, in their success. And as there is a statement in the research that comes out, it says 80% of your success is because of EI or EQ, 20% comes out of IQ. This is defined, this is researched. And that is where I just wanted to tell you what kind of a role EI and EQ plays in leadership resilience. This is the kind of role that it plays, because recognizing your emotions, toughening them, and using them for the right purpose is what the leadership is supposed to is expected to do.
Absolutely. And I think I can't agree with you more, because that's what I also experienced in my military career. You see,
Ah,
I found that in the army, we were always operating in a mission centric environment where adaptability and resilience were paramount. So each time you go for a mission, it brings a unique challenge, and rarely do things go as planned. Okay. So I always tell people that we plan so beautifully, and most people do agree with me that in the army, the planning goes to the last T. But the plan lasts only till the contact with the enemy is made. And the moment the contact with the enemy is made, there's chaos. And
absolutely.
we are taught how to handle chaos, and that handling chaos is totally emotional. Now there's no there is there's a training of where your professional knowledge in terms of the use of ground, the use of weapons, all that comes in. But more importantly, now it is totally an emotional game that you are playing with the enemy. And
Absolutely.
now a lot of people, when I've had a lot of discussions on resilience with people, and I've done some talks on this in corporates, one thing that comes out is that resilience is always taken as a response to something that went wrong, or you were in a crisis, or there's a threat, or whatever. But I also want to tell you that in the army, we were taught, and I realized it much later when you saw the effect of that training coming out, that it is not only responsive, it is also a proactive concept in your mind, that you're always prepared to look ahead and be resilient. So, resilient is not only bouncing back, it is also a
Yeah.
continuous reassessment of the situation and quick decision making to see how can I achieve something more than what I was going to achieve. So
Yes.
this part is a very important proactive part of resilience, because many people, when they understand resilience, they think that it is only a response to a situation. I'm
Absolutely.
sure you'll be able
Absolutely
to
well said.
elaborate on that.
So just to getting you back to the resilience, it is an optimism to continue when you are experiencing some failure. As simple as that. It is an optimism to continue when you are experiencing some failures. After you have realized that part of it, what comes into the picture on continued basis is the grit. So they're all intermixed. So grit is nothing else but a motivational drive that keeps you on a difficult path on a sustained period of life. And that is where we come to your ground reality is when you have resolved to be resilient when you are facing the enemy, what comes on the continued basis is the grittiness of the soldier. And it's an ability to keep you going when you want to give up. It is a firmness of character, my friends, an indomitable spirit, perseverance, and passion for a long term goal, whether it is for life, whether it is an organization, or whether it is to win a given battle. It doesn't matter. Both these traits, as I may put it, are nothing else but a fallout of growth mindset and not a closed mindset. And the good news is that the growth mindset means you can learn and you can develop and you can build your own resilience and your grit. That is a good news. So it is not that only few have it. We all have it. We need to be only aware of it and we need to look at life positively. We need to look at life with a purpose. We need to look at life with mindfulness. We need to look at life with a kind of attitude that is required of going ahead and getting it done as long as it is positive. So these are a few characteristics that if you are able to develop, these can be developed intentionally. This can be developed purposefully, as again and again coming to that. So the PIC, purposeful, intentional, and consciousness is the most important part here. They don't come in automatically. They'll never come in automatically. Any amount of my talking to you or Brigadier Saab talking to you will never happen to you up until the time that you do it. You focus it. You decide to be positive. You decide to be mindful. And you decide to have a purpose. When you decide and you are conscious about that thing and you do it on day-to-day basis, step after step, time after time, that gives you that mindset, which is known as emotionally strong mindset, accepting the reality and acting upon it. Don't shy away from that. That's my small little advice. It's
Very
not
good. I think that's a
impossible. It is absolutely possible. We all are gifted with that. We need to be aware of it. As simple as that. You are resilient. Let me tell you, everybody has been resilient in their life at some point in time. As Brigadier Saab said, that the child falls down, he gets up. What is the meaning of that? If you really have to define and break it up, it is nothing else but he is a resilient person to a given situation. What was the stress? The stress was falling down. What was the change? The change was falling down. He was walking. The change is he is now on the ground. But he got up on his own. We never developed that. As a matter of fact, the parents go across and start beating the ground, saying that the ground is being punished because you fell down. Not allowing to accept the fact that yes, he can fall down and he should fall down to make himself a little more stronger. Emotional resilience actually is developed on those grounds when you are giving abusive and using abusive language and getting to be mentally strong here. Least you have a child who comes home crying and feels insulted and goes in one corner and is depressed for the rest of his life because he can't handle insults. World is all about insults and glories, goods and bads. And that is what emotional intelligence teaches you. It is nothing else. I don't want to go into any bombastic theories and phrases and definitions. Use your emotions intelligently. Using your emotions intelligently is emotional intelligence. Period.
I think
That's it.
that's yeah, that's as simple as that. Yeah, as simple as
Yes.
that.
वो बहुत बड़ा बड़ा बताने से कोई मतलब नहीं है साहब. But if you just go home with this, I have a set of emotions. How intelligently do I use them? If you remember this, you will identify it far better, sir. Uri mein, there is this the person who leads the mission, and he said, "How is the Josh?" And the entire company says, "Hi, sir. Hi, sir." So what is he trying to do? He's trying to Evoke their emotions to ensure that he is able to achieve his objective. Emotional intelligence, the entire end game is to achieve your objective. So, how is a Josh? Is he is getting to be making his entire set of troops more emotive to ensure that he avenges the attack made by our enemy. If he was to go little cognitive into that and ask and allow every soldier to think, what am I doing here? The mission is failure. He doesn't allow them to do that. So that is where I'm coming to. Allow using your emotions intelligently. Take a different case. An executive comes with a different emotional state of mind, probably had a fight with somebody at home, irritated, angry, and some big and a good proposal comes to his way by his assistant, by his junior. He said, I don't want to see the proposal. One of the best proposals. What did he allow? He allowed his emotions to move into the objectivity part of it. And he lost out on a great proposal. He didn't use his emotions intelligently. Okay, Athena, you keep your emotions at home when you're in the office. So here is the case where I want him to use his cognitivity more. And there is the case when the army Jawans need to be asked a simple emotive question, how is the Josh? No questions asked. No time to be allowed to think. No cognitivity should seep in there. That is where I say using your emotions intelligently is emotional intelligence. And that is the biggest trait for every leader. Social skills come into picture, soft skills comes into picture, relationships comes into picture, empathy comes into picture, optimism, very, very high trait. Navigating your emotions, not getting stuck with things. These are all amazing traits once you adopt them consciously, intentionally, and purposefully. Believe me, you will start thinking, acting, and behaving the way it is required of. Yes, Brigadier Sir. Anything else?
Thank you. So I think there has been some technical issue where I am not seeing comments, but now on my phone I've got the comments which Snail has sent me. So Snail has put in a lot of comments, and what is very interesting is that we have got a hello from Serbia. There is
Oh,
Marija Momkolovic. So I don't know whether I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Marija Momkilovic. So she
okay.
has said hello from Serbia, but after that we have not been able to see whether there are any more questions or not. So uh, I think there's a technical glitch, and I'm told that there are 18 people live, and we are not able to see them.
Oh,
So, if there's anyone who is listening to me and wants to put in questions, please put them, particularly on YouTube, because I think I'm only getting YouTube comments and not LinkedIn comments. So we'll take the last couple of minutes to see if we can still get some questions, and otherwise, Snehal, you can give me the questions on WhatsApp and I'll read them out. If we have any other questions or any other comments. So, till we can see something, I just want to remind my viewers that we do this talk every alternate Wednesday at 5 p.m. Indian Standard Time. And I want to remind you that we will be there now onwards, and do make it a point to block your calendar. Also, send us some more questions on topics that you would like to have us cover, so that we can meet your requirements, because we firmly believe that we are here for you. We need to tell you what you are interested in and not tell you what we know or what we want to broadcast. So it's not a one-way dialogue like that for us. The audience is most important. So I think we'll end it here. We are almost close to 1 hour, and thank you very much,
may
Mr.
may
Jhankar
I, in the
Gadkari.
parting,
Hmm.
reverse
Yeah.
the situation for a minute, if I
So
had that liberty.
any parting comment, any parting advice that you want to give to the viewers of how we can really, in a very practical way, build up, build up our emotional intelligence, because we've understood we have it, but you also talked a lot about how to develop it. So, if there could be one or two tips on how to
Simple
develop.
question, simple statement, sir. So very simple statement. Success is not final, and failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that makes the difference, and that makes a great leader from the other. It is just the courage to continue, whether you are successful or whether you are a failure. Doesn't matter at all. Stand up, bounce back, and run again. That's all I can tell you. Whether it is in your personal life, or in your social life, or it is in your professional life, these concepts are going to be common for everybody. We need not look at it with a myopic view of it only to be viewed or through the magnifying glass of a corporate life. No, leadership is in your own house. Leadership is in your own society. Leadership is amongst your own friends that you could be looked up to. We don't know what role that are you playing. So it seeps into your social, your professional, and your personal life. Let's not confine it only to one area of development. Development has to be
Okay,
for
so
all these three.
thank you very much. I think the internet is also creating a problem. I can see some unstable
Oh,
connection here. So, thank you very much for being with us today. You
most
have
welcome.
given us pearls of wisdom, and
Most welcome, sir.
I look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you too.
Thank you
Thank you
very
too.
much.
Thank you too. Thank you too. Look forward to.